All right, everyone, this is SANDDAO Podcast episode 10. And today we have Dr. Loretta Chen, CEO and co-founder of Smobler, who is on the Sandbox DAO advisory board. And today we're going to learn about Dr. Chen, Loretta, and her perspective as an advisory board member.
Thank you so much for having me, Shane. It is an honor, a pleasure, delight. Always great to, share my thoughts, energies with wonderful people, like-minded individuals in the community. But my first disclaimer is I have a lot of pets, as many of you probably already know. I talk about this all the time. And so I literally have 5 little kitty cats around me. You can't see them. So if I occasionally go off camera or you see something jump over, it's nothing supernatural. It's just my kitty cats playing. They're very excited. And this is the time they're all awake. They're literally all awake and doing a carnival and Cirque du Soleil around me. So just wanted you folks to be prepared.
Little feline acrobatics. Oh, yeah.
Yes, yes, yeah, exactly, exactly.
So today, the scope of the talk group is today's a meet and greet with Loretta. And I said sip draft, excuse me. It's a meet and greet and a learning opportunity. So
Oh, well, thank you.
those are the two things that we are after today. And jumping straight into introductions. So I'm Lanzer, the podcast host. I'm a landowner and avatar owner. I have a WoW. I love my WoW, my World of Women, the NFT. I run around with her in Sandbox all the time. So, and I love business, entrepreneurship, gaming, and the DAO is like that perfect intersection to where it speaks to me. And so I'm doing this to really just explore the DAO, everything about it. I didn't know what it was 60 days ago, so I had to learn fast, along with a lot of other people in SanFam. And I've been in different communities like BOTB, the Bulls on the Block, Archer Saturdays, Mocaverse Hall, some of the things that Loretta herself did AMAs in, and just learning what do the different DAOs do, what's working, what's not working, and then just have podcasts like this where we can learn with people and talk to people and see what the community is all about. And that wraps up me. Loretta, would you please introduce yourself?
You just put me to shame. I actually think that you know so much more about this space and the DAO than I do. And sometimes one of the things about being a founder is that you're flying the plane as you're building it, and you're building the plane as you're flying it. And so much time is spent, creating things, breaking things, fixing things, right? Talking to folks, listening to your staff and growing the community that I often always, bemoan the fact that I don't have enough time to be learning about
Mm-hmm.
my industry. So I actually am absolutely delighted to be on these sorts of AMAs and podcasts where I get to know our community members. I get to know what you think, what you feel, what you do. And this becomes a learning opportunity for me. So thank you all for having me and for sharing again your time. So just quick
Yeah.
background, I think we had a joke just prior. I think Shane was saying, what is it that I don't do? I don't do technology, which is kind of funny, given that I am a founder now of Smobler, which is a metaverse first and digital first agency. So a little bit about me, born and raised in Singapore. We'll talk a little bit about that. Happy National Day to all my Singaporean friends. Born and raised in Singapore, was educated obviously in Singapore and London in the UK, as you could probably tell a little bit from my accent. Also did my PhD at UCLA and always had my career in 3 different verticals. Academia, obviously, academia, education, entertainment. My entire family's in entertainment and in entrepreneurship. So I had a career on radio, on TV, in the theater, in publishing, as sharing with Shane. And I also ran a deactivation group with my brother, my second brother, Eric, where we designed and built retail spaces in a global travel retail scene, as well as doing the branding, marketing, and events. So fast forward to 2014, I moved to Hawaii and really went back to what I love to do, which was working with women and youths and social enterprise and education. But fast forward to 2020, one of my ex-staff who'd lost his job over COVID called me, and he has an autistic son and was down to his last $70.
Ooh.
And we didn't see any light at the end of the tunnel. This was just to set it in context, take us back to 2020, April, May. There was no vaccine in sight. Everyone is in lockdown. It's a black swan event. And so my altruistic bleeding heart was like, what could I do to help in this, very helpless situation?
Yeah.
And when Ruel told me about the Sandbox Open Metaverse and the ability to be a creator, I got really interested and I leaned in really for him and for other creators who lost their work. And I saw that there was something fundamentally groundbreaking about this blockchain technology, that the ability to then own our data was something that was going to be rather revolutionary. And so while I don't have background in gaming or in blockchain, the entrepreneur and the creator in me soon saw the opportunity to bring brands, IPs, and communities into the space. And that's how we grew.
The
So I'm just going
curse
to
and the
take a
gift of
pause
an
there.
entrepreneur.
That's absolutely right. The curse and the gift, they're like 2 days, the
Mm-hmm.
joys and the days in the life of an
See a
entrepreneur,
need,
right?
feel
The
a need, but
day,
there's so many needs.
yeah, the day you establish the company and the day you sell it off or get it acquired or IPO. I mean, I've been a serial entrepreneur. My previous companies have either been acquired or M&A. So, we'll see what happens with Smobler. But yeah, happy to take any questions. I'll pause there and then let you lead the conversation.
Yeah, so I think I heard you say earlier on you were in a newscaster or you were a radio show talk show host?
So I ran my own show in the 90s. It was called Gold 90 FM, classic hits
Yep.
all day.
Very
And
90s, yeah.
so, and so but I can also
Go
talk like
90
that and be
FM.
like I can talk like that and be like a regular Singapore girl. Today is my Singapore's national day, so I can always slip into my Singaporean accent. But yeah, I ran my own radio show, and then I later on ran my own show as well called The Art of Lush with Loretta Chen on Lush 99.
Mm. You can easily revert back to that voice, huh?
Yes, yes. So that's really fun. And I had to read the news as well. And that was something that, and having said that, just having the opportunity to be in broadcast media really gave me a huge understanding on how the media landscape works, which is also why transitioning into Web3 was fairly easy for me because I recognized how privileged I was to have been able to be in institutionalized broadcast media, right? So back then, you had to be selected or shortlisted or handpicked to be on TV, radio, insert um,
Mm-hmm.
major broadcast institutions. Whereas today, every single person, yourself, Shane, right? The 12-year-old that has 200 million followers, like every single person today is a media platform. So I find that hugely exciting and really. I feel very blessed to have seen the transition, having been a broadcaster myself, having been institutionalized media, to now transiting and being part of the creator economy is a great joy for me.
Oh, that's really special. That's a good beginning
Uh-huh.
into the institutional side of things. And now that you're here in the more decentralized place, you walk into it with an appreciation for what the other side goes through, taking the best because there's good and bad with everything. So taking the best from that and then augmenting where you currently are. So I have no doubt that that's enabling where you are now.
That's absolutely right, Shane. And I think it's having, it's the benefit of hindsight and older
Yeah.
age, right? Folks down the space are a lot younger than me, and recognizing that they're so much more media savvy. I mean, they're born with a digital cord attached to, it's not an umbilical cord anymore. It's tied to their digital gadgets. And I think it is very heartening and also exciting to see how every single young person today really wants to be a creator. In a way, when I was younger, I think I come from already a very a-traditional family where every single one of us is an artist and an entrepreneur. That's already very, very different in an Asian family. My parents were hugely supportive. I did not have the traditional Asian story where Asian mom and dad says, "Don't be this and that, don't do this and that, do this and that." My Asian parents were like, "Go be the best version of you. We love you.
Oh,
We
that's
hug it
that's
every
special.
single day." And that already is such a blessing that I know that I have, that I always try to pay forward. So And
And
then
and you speak is it Malay or Tamil?
我可以讲华语 so 我可以讲中文 I can speak Mandarin and I can boleh cakap Melayu sikit-sikit meaning I can speak a little bit of Malay just a little bit yeah
Okay. All
yeah
right.
and so just having that background of a very atypical Asian family, being raised as an artist, as an entrepreneur to do the best that I be the best version of me, and now seeing to your point that transit where you needed to be institutionalized media and it was only power is held by a few to today where everyone has the power to be media, right? Leading to the conversation we're having today on the Sandbox DAO that we're democratizing,
Mm-hmm.
commercial community spaces, which I think is the heart of today's conversation, but I'm happy
Yep.
to have you lead me into those directions.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for giving us your very colorful background. That see, like I said before, it seems like there's a shorter list of what you haven't done. Really, it's quite fascinating. And so let's move all into the disclaimer. So normally I say I do not represent the Sandbox game or the Sandbox Foundation. Do you have any representation of any kind for the Sandbox Foundation or Sandbox DAO?
I think I can say that I am an advisor, but I certainly cannot speak on behalf of the Sandbox
Okay,
or the
got it.
organization, but I definitely can speak for myself as the founder of Smobler, which is an investee studio of the Sandbox, but I certainly cannot position
Yeah.
to speak for the Sandbox.
And shout
Yeah.
out to Smobler or Smobler?
It is a made-up word. It is a made-up word. It's two Swedish words, sma and bla, mobla. So sma means small, and mobla is furniture. So basically, it's
Smobler.
two complicated words that mean like small assets or small furniture, which really was how we started building up
Yeah.
small little voxel assets in the sandbox before we grew.
Yeah, well shout out to Smobler because you currently have a experience called Battleground that is live.
Yes, we do. It is one of the most exciting FPS first-person shooter games. And huge kudos to my team for working so hard. And I think we had huge praise from Panda Pops, whom I think is a queen and a legend in her space.
She
So
most definitely is. I'm
shout
trying to get her on the podcast too.
yeah, and
Sometime in
so
the future. Yeah.
when she says it's a great game and the best that she has seen, played, been in, I mean, I take that as a huge accomplishment. So I really thank her for that, and of course the community that's been so wonderfully supportive.
Yeah. Yeah, and she I had the honor of her visiting mine and she was very, very kind to do so. So I appreciated that so much from
I
her.
actually want to make a big shout out to her too because I think she was the first person to I think personally design my avatar. Yeah, I
Really?
think yeah,
Okay.
I met her, and in person, and because I said I don't know how to do this, my team does it. She said, "Oh, I'm going to show you," and she proceeded to literally, when I was standing right in front of her, create my avatar, based on what I was wearing in this little yellow outfit I was wearing because it's my official color. It's Mobla, and yeah, she also really uh, endowed me with yeah, I was very curvy. Let's just put it that way, in her representation of me,
Yes,
of my
yes, absolutely. Yes.
I was very
Oh,
well endowed. Yeah.
so we do not represent the Sandbox game or the Sandbox Foundation, and we are not your financial or legal advisors. So nothing we say here is to be taken as such unless Loretta says otherwise for herself. Okay,
Uh,
we'll quickly go through the scoreboard because there were some interesting updates that happened. We are now, there are two SIPs that are open for voting. SIPs number 9 and 10. 9 is the NFT collection curator nomination, where I didn't know this until I talked to Arthmore about it. The DAO is about to receive 14,000 NFTs from I think it's a combination of Seb and Jean Michel and some other benefactors where they're gifting it to the DAO. And so this SIP is to nominate for a curator to refocus the collection from a multivariable, it's kind of all over the place with different profile picture type investment or ownerships to a more, I think they call it, he said the word provenance. So like a theme, it creates something that says something about the sandbox. Whereas right now it's too it's too all over the place for it to do so. So we have 2 open for voting now, and the second one is blockchain events in Asia. And I saw your studio in there, Loretta. So
Yes, that's right. I'll be happy to talk a little bit more about that. Absolutely.
mhm. So there's some blockchain events going on in Latin America and Asia that that they are seeking funding to set up booths and all the different sort of outreach expenses needed to reach a new demographic, to show people about the DAO, and that's as far as I could understand. That's what it is. Is that close? Did I get close?
Yeah, like I said, I think you're definitely much more well prepared than I am, and yeah, so I can definitely speak more to the event that we're creating. So we are creating Nova. Nova is our signature event in Smobler. Again, background, like I told you, we design and built retail stores, and I created the branding and marketing as well as
Mm,
the live events for a long period of time when I was running the activation group up till my move to Hawaii. So that was like 16 years as a co-founder together with my brother of the activation group. And so I've always felt that even though I am in a digital space and we love our different media platforms that we are on now, I still think there's something really magical about meeting face to face and being able to
hmm
break bread, give a hug to somebody that you have not met
Yeah.
for a long time or just never seen. And so Nova really is a celebration of our in real life opportunities post COVID, as well as an ability to bring Web2 leaders and Web3 OGs into a space together to create more networking opportunities, to have a chance to create even more partnerships, collaborations. So this started last year. It's an official side event at Token 2049. And of course, we had the Sandbox there. Sebastian was there. We also had Sandy Carter from Unstoppable Domains being there, and she did her book launch there. We had one of Singapore's celebrities, Inch launch
Mm.
a music initiative that we're also building out. And this year, we launched it last year, and then this year, we're ready to show her world to the rest of the world. And this year, we also have Champ Medici, Snoop's son, joining us as well. So what happened was we started doing Nova as a side event in Singapore, Token 2049, and then we did another Nova at Austin as an official side event to South by Southwest. And there we launched Austin Verse together with the mayor of Austin. And so this year for Nova Singapore edition, it's going to be even bigger, better, because we are partnering with the Ordinal Summit. Why? Because Smobler is launching our own Ordinals
Oh,
inscription.
okay.
That's super exciting, which I will share more. It is going to be the first cross-chain Bitcoin Ethereum cross IP Sandbox Roblox collection. And so Smobler has even built our own DApp to facilitate the interoperability between these Web2 and Web3 communities. So feel free to quiz me more about that. But that is the huge announcement. I think you're one of the first folks to actually hear this. So Nova this year is going to be huge. We're going to bring in celebrity DJs. We have, like I said, Chamba DJ coming in. We're launching our own Ordinals. We're partnering with Ordinal Summit, Opal Foundation. Lots of exciting announcements to
A
be
lot of
made to
connections.
Nova event.
A
Yeah,
lot of
17th
connections.
September, 17th September, 6 to 9 p.m. in the biggest club in Orchard Road called Arc 11. So I'll just pause there and have you
And
jump in.
where was that you said? Ake Levitt?
So it's at a big club. It's 8,000 square feet. It's called Arc 11, ARK
Arc
11.
11. Okay.
And the reason why we selected a space is also because it fits with our theme. It's very futuristic. It looks like a little space shuttle. You walk out and you feel like you're in Gattaca. For those of you who are old enough to watch Gattaca, well, that's my reference at least. Like you sort of walk out and it's like big, a very futuristic space. So we're very excited and I'm very happy to invite folks to log on to smobler.io and click on Nova to reserve your free tickets today as well.
Smobler.io. Okay, I'm there. And Nova
Yeah, go there.
2024. I see it.
Yeah, go
I
and
see
please
it.
encourage all your viewers, listeners, supporters to go grab a ticket. And it's a really exciting time to be in Singapore. Yay, Singapore! Because it's Token 2049 and it is also the F1 season. So you have a lot of crypto boys and gals there. You have a lot of F1 enthusiasts, and of course you have a lot of Web3 gaming enthusiasts, and just folks who are, just genuinely excited about innovation, change, technology. Really fun time to be alive.
Good. So Arc 11 and Orchard Central. And where is that? I need to Google that. What is that?
Oh, it's right in the heart of Orchard Road. And so I don't know which part of the
Singapore.
world you're in. Yeah, I don't
All
know where
right.
you are in, but it's like being like right in the heart of Times Square if you're in New York City. That it's like being right there where it is. It's like Orchard Road is the mecca shopping, extravaganza of Singapore. So yeah, that's where our event's going to be at.
Yep. So if you are nearby in Singapore, consider going to Nova 2024 at Arc 11 and Orchard Central, and check out Smobler.
Yes, yes, exactly. Along with
There's a
all our
Luma
partners.
ticket and Moongate ticket. All right.
All right.
So outside of those two SIPs, there are two new SIPs in the draft section. One is for the
Mhm.
Sandbox Academy in the Philippines by Bago, and the second is a Sandbox Ambassador Program by TSB. So go ahead and check out. There's a lot to participate in if you're SandFam, and ask your questions to the new SIPs and cast your vote for the current SIPs on the voting floor. And selfish plug for myself, we have submitted 5 of our 6 SIPs right now, the last one being the SANDDAO podcast, which is currently going back and forth between myself and the PM team to get funding for this podcast. And so I'm pretty excited about that one. We'll see how that works out.
Wonderful. We really hope the community will support you, and thank you for the work that you do. And just a big shout out to, I think one of the reasons why I really wanted to participate in the DAO is to your point, right? I think I've in hindsight I've always felt incredibly blessed to have been part of established media, to have always had a platform, whether it was in radio or television or theater or publishing, and recognizing that just not so long ago, say in the 90s, uh, these avenues were not made accessible to a lot of folks. And then, of course, I remember in 2008, that was when, because I was a media personality, and the press called me and said, "Hey, Loretta, what do you know about Facebook?" I remember this was like,
Hmm.
I was like, "Facebook?" And I was like, let me go. I don't even know if I said Google that. I was like, let me go
The
find
dog
out.
pile. Dog pile was a
Right,
thing.
you're
Ask
right, right.
Jeeves.
Let me
Ask
go
Jeeves.
AOL that, right? And
AOL.
so and
Yes.
so and so I think, I think none of us then had the realization that this, what we now call social media, the age of interaction, was going to be as big as it is today. And so I think fast forward to, we now see, especially in the 2016 elections, on how, central or centralized media and
Hmm.
technology can sometimes wreak havoc. And I think the watershed moment was also when folks sort of woke up to recognize that a lot of our information, our data, our creations are now technically being owned by big companies. And it's not to say that there isn't a place for all parties to exist. It is, I think, always about having opportunity, having
Mm-hmm.
choice. I think it really is about having folks have the freedom to be able to access different media, different platforms. And so I think that's why I'm really excited to be,
Agency.
and to have agency, exactly, to have agency. And we know that these are early days. We know that these are experimental phases. We know that there are a lot of skeptics, but I nonetheless think that it is really important for us as visionaries and change makers to have some sense of idealism, because you do need a sense of courage and fearlessness to chart something new. And I think it's really exciting to be able to empower our landowners, our sand holders, to have the opportunity to have a voice and a say in a community that matters to them. As in real life,
Yeah.
it's not always easy to get people to vote, but I do think that it is
A
important
current
to,
predicament for us right now. Yeah.
exactly. But it is important for us to consistently push, to have different voices to be heard, and to exercise our ability to vote.
Yeah. And a plug again, 2 SIPs on the voting floor. We've had trouble reaching quorum the past 3 SIPs, and one of them failed because they didn't reach quorum. That was the Paris City Jam, unfortunately. It had the positive vote. It just didn't reach the 30 million needed. So that's currently a predicament of ours that we're trying to rectify with reaching out, things like this, and touching base with known landowners and sand owners to just get the word out. Vote yes, vote no, just vote. Give it your consideration, please.
That's right. I think, again, I'm a Singaporean, so I'm not here to be talking about US politics at all. But as one party candidate says, when you vote, you win. And I really think it's so important for us to exercise agency and our voice, especially if it's a community that you believe in. I think I encourage everybody to lean in and just read. I think it's always so exciting to be part of something new. So education for me is key, and just being aware of what's happening. So hopefully our little podcast would inspire a few folks to go into the Sandbox DAO and go read up on the SIPs that are out there. And we really want your support and have you come join us in some of these events and
Yep.
initiatives that lots of folks have put a lot of heart and thought into.
Yep, we're all one sand fam, and I can attest just how hard it is to do a sip. Oh my gosh, it is. It takes a lot of effort.
Yeah, it forces you to really think through. So it's not like you
Yeah,
just submit
yeah,
some, let me just tweet something and have people vote. No, it really is a very thoughtful
yeah,
process. I think for most folks who have not done this, like to your point, you may not have a real appreciation of how much thought actually goes into this. So the team actually works really hard. So a big shout out, obviously, to Cyril Ford, who was the head of DAO, and the team works really hard to try and canvas, corral, and also guide these SIPs. And it also helps the community to really think through our ideas a lot better, right? Sometimes the best way to be challenged is to be challenged and to voice out your thoughts so it's not in your head, and to have to discuss it with other people, to have to present it before you present it to public. It has to be a well thought through idea. So just the exercise on its own, to your point, Shane, is incredibly valuable.
there. Uh, it's it's been a real joy to learn through this process and all the different things that are required to make this work. I mean, you have to think about everything. The schedule. How does it impact the schedule? If I want this part, does it increase the cost? Is that acceptable? Is it reasonable? Like, at at what point do I know I need to taper off the cost because I know it's not going to be accepted by the community? It's just there's so much to go through. But yeah, so hats off to anyone who creates a SIP because it is an endeavor. So I noticed, getting now into the discussion piece for the for your background, you're also a Mocha holder? Yes?
I am. Yes, I am.
Fellow Mocha? Mocha lies? What they say? Is that what they say? Yeah.
Yeah, I have to confess, right? I'm one of early Mocha holders, and I've been just so busy.
Oh,
But every time I read, I'm like, wow, look at what. So obviously, I keep in touch with my Mocha community and what they're up to. It's like, wow, they're killing it. Literally, I think the Mocha community has really grown, and I see folks being really happy about being part of the Mocha community, and
yeah.
so it's really exciting, and it's
They've been making big moves. I am a new Mocha holder, so I
yeah.
think I obtained a Mocha maybe 3 weeks ago, and
Okay.
and they just right before they did the airdrop where you can
I see.
stake and all that, and so I
Yeah.
chose to vest. So
Yeah.
I'm in it with the team for the long haul, and
Yay.
yep.
Diamond hands, diamond
Sure,
fingers.
yeah, is that what they say? Diamond hands, yeah.
Yeah. Yes,
So I'm
yes.
I'm I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, I got my mocha and mine was an easy selection. I just got all the ones with cats. So it's like that was easy for me to pick. The
Fur
ones with
mom
cats.
to 25 cats. I don't know how you do it. All that world domination and plotting going on in your house. It's
It's a lot
fascinating.
happening now. It's a little carnival. I don't know if
Yeah.
you can hear it. It's a lot.
So let's move to there's something I noticed when I was looking at your background. Possibility, people, purpose, and possibilities. And what the question I was going to ask first was what drives you? And I was thinking that there was my answer right there. Can you make the connection? What what really motivates you?
I was going to add the other piece, pets, because I don't know if you can hear it, but my cats are going like this and they're like, Mom, it's dinner time. But I think a lot of people think I do a lot of things, but what I really want to say is I really do just three things, really. I create, I connect, I communicate. Just like an artist, that, works their craft over different canvases, whether it's digital art or whether it's sculpture or whether it's watercolor or whether it is acrylic, or just regular pencil
You're
sketching.
a painter as well.
Actually, my brother, big shout out to my brother, Edmund Chen. Google him. He's the world's, he owns the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest painting in the world. And he also happens to be Singapore's Tom Cruise and a really excellent actor,
Oh, that's
producer,
cool. That's special. I
writer.
also have a Guinness World Record. Most people don't know that.
Really?
Yeah. So
Wow.
so
That's
I too
amazing.
create. I connect with that big time. Music, novels. I've just been same thing, but more in the artist industry instead of the. Whereas you were quite the serial entrepreneur in the industrial, and it's quite impressive.
Thank you. I think every single person in my family, Edmund, Eric, and I, that's my two brothers and I, I think we just can't sit still. Like we're always like, what's the next challenge? What's the next challenge? I think we egg each other on.
Yeah.
And so really, I think what I do, and thank you for picking that up. My tagline has never changed. In fact, I've always been very, very consistent. Everyone thinks that I am such a queen of reinvention, but really fundamentally, the packaging may change, but the core of me remains the same. I'm
Mm-hmm.
inspired by people, purpose, and possibilities. I really think the heart of what I do is always about trying to create a metaverse for good or creating a community for good.
Mm.
Whether with the platforms that I use were TV, radio, publishing, and now in the digital space or creating real world spaces is always about how do I bring people together? How do I create diverse ideas, possibilities together? Because I truly think that when we can envision and we can make that come to coalition or fruition, I mean, that in itself is really powerful. The ability to bring people together and the ability to, because I've always said that, because I've always had the ability to or to have the fortune, the good fortune and a privilege to be put in a director position, whether it's an artistic director, a creative
Mm-hmm.
director, a founder. And I realized that what is similar in all these roles is the ability to sit and listen to very diverse points of view and to make every single person feel heard, respected, and yet be able to bring all these diverse talents, views, possibilities together in a united vision. And I think that is such a skill, whether, running a small startup or running a country or running a DAO, that
Mm-hmm.
really is what it is, right? It's about bringing all these diverse possibilities and perspectives together and then to form one not perfect but a perpetual state of possibility, right? I think I don't think utopias exist, but I think that the continual push for us to want to do better, to want to come together, to challenge each other, and to believe in possibilities that things can be better. I think that's what inspires me in every single thing that I do, whether it's a
Yeah.
book that I write or a sip that I'm creating or an event that I'm creating. Like the next one's got to be better. Like the work is never perfect and finished, but it's perpetual work in progress. And I think that really defines who I am and what I truly believe in. It's the act of
Yeah.
pursuit that makes it really fun for me. And
I
alliteration,
connect with
of
that.
course.
I connect with that. I learned very early. I didn't. It took me a little while. My first business that I owned, I tried to wait for it to be perfect. I didn't realize that had I got that 80% solution and then just iterated on that, I would have been leagues. That compounding interest in terms of experience,
Absolutely.
I didn't realize that. I wanted to be perfect because when they saw it, it had to be great. And then I didn't realize until my second or third business that, well, hold on, if you get it reasonable and out the door, then you can improve and make it better and better and better. And whatever you started with, it'll be leagues ahead of that. And that's something that sounds like you've been doing for a while now. And now, Smobler.
That's right. That also means that, to never be afraid of having these mistakes, right? Because these really are the opportunities for you to learn and grow. I mean, as a startup founder, I mean, like I said, I've been a serial entrepreneur literally one of my staff was just texting me. She's like, "Wow, a lot has happened." I said, "Yeah, but I have all of you to count on." And I think to your point, I think it's the continuous pursuit, right? And it's to lean
Mm-hmm.
in to very uncomfortable moments, and it's not to fear those mistakes, because honestly, that's exactly when you learn. It's exactly when you pivot. It's exactly when you look back and you think, "Huh, should I edit that? Should I change that? Do I need to rethink that? Do I need to recalculate, recalibrate?" And that
Right.
forces so much more clear in your
Analysis
intent.
by paralysis.
Exactly. So do it and then fix it, rebuild it. But I would say not lose faith and be a little fearless,
Yeah.
and lean in.
You have two entrepreneurs here, if you're listening, telling you just go do it.
Yeah.
If you take my route, you will be in the analysis phase forever, and then by the time you submit it, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I wish I had done this years ago. How much effort could I have put in to make it better if I had just set it out there? Because once you set it out there, then it starts interacting with reality, and that's what really gets you further along. I wish I could talk to my young 18-year-old self again.
Well, that's just 2 years ago, right? So you've
Sure, sure. Yeah.
you're
So
still doing good.
people, purpose, and possibilities, and pets, and you do
Yeah.
this by creating, connecting, and communicating.
Yes. Yes, I do.
And what I very
Yeah.
much hear is shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you'll land amongst the stars theme going
Oh
on.
yeah. 100%. That's always been. Yeah, that is definitely something that's really close to my heart. Yes, absolutely. But also to always have a really strong network around you, and what I mean a strong network, you don't have to have like a 1 million follower community. I think sometimes just to build really, just to have something that you can rely on, right? Whether it's your faith or your family. For me, my pets and a few close friends, a few mentors and role models you look up to. For me, like I said, I'm very thankful I have my family. But I think it's to find these pillars that you can count on, and then just go forth and create. I think that's really important, and that's why we also want this DAO. Going back to your premise of this conversation, right? That do we think it's going to be perfect? No, but are we all game to make this um, a arena where folks can, feel that they are part of? Yes, right? Are we going to get this right from day one? No. I think Sebastian, myself, and a lot of advisors and special council members who have gone on podcasts and AMAs have said that, we don't think that this is going to be perfect the minute we set this up. But that is why we continually want to make this better with all your input and your feedback. And there are going to be times when folks are unhappy with the Builders Challenge, or then happy with this or that, or similarly at
Yeah,
Smobler, our team says, "Oh, we want this," or a community member says, "We want that." But I think these are the processes that hone you, and then you continually try to be better than you are yesterday. That really is,
yeah.
I think, this the enterprise. Yeah.
And what I think I might have missed it. So you're now a co-founder of Smobler. What was the entry point into the sandbox? When did your previous self and sandbox meet?
Oh yeah, so I actually gave a little bit of a preamble to that at the start, but then I'll make that a little bit clearer as well. So I was already in Hawaii. I had exited from the activation group, and I had gone back to my
Oh,
first
right,
love.
right, right. Yeah.
I have many first loves. I went back to education, I went back to social enterprise, I then started a program in the penitentiary, in the state penitentiary in Hawaii, and I was working with women and fundraising, and I was doing all of that. And during COVID, my ex-staff who worked for me, the activation group, asked me for this opportunity to ask for opportunities for work. And he had discovered the Sandbox Open Metaverse. And so to put it even clearer in
Okay,
context,
okay, I understand. I missed that little link there.
yeah.
Okay, got
So
it.
no, so I'll make that very clear. So what had happened was that, and this is a great question, I'm glad you asked, was that this takes us back to 2020, where there was so much hype on metaverse, and this is even before Facebook changed its name to Meta, but there was already this sort of burgeoning, this bull market starting to happen. And there were so many folks and founders who were saying, "Oh, we're starting this metaverse and that metaverse." But the reason why we worked with the Sandbox was a few things. I think one, their white paper was very robust. I think they had a very clear idea of where they were headed. Like I said, I think it's not about perfection, but I thought they had the clearest idea because they articulated that they had these limited lands, just like Bitcoin, right? You always have 21 million. That's a separate conversation I'm happy to have. But it's about demand and supply. We'll always have this limited supply of 166,000 something lands. And I thought like that intention itself is very thoughtful and robust because compared to some other metaverses that said, oh, we have unlimited supply of land. And that to me was just like, how is that going to be valuable?
Because it's so meta. It's so
Yeah, and it's
metaverse,
unlimited. And it's
right?
unlimited, right?
It's just
So
metaverse everywhere.
yeah, and then value is in scarcity. And if you could drive scarcity or artificial scarcity, that's something there. So that's one. And then there was also what I really believed in as an artist and a creator and an entrepreneur is about supporting the creator economy. So that from the get-go was very clear in the Sandbox's vision that we want to create a space for creators to come and be able to create, own, and play. And that for me was just the kind of ethos that I was as a person. I was the same person that started a theater
I see
company.
it now. I see the connection.
Yeah, so that I could pay because I was like, how can I empower actors to and enable them to have a decent wage? Because it broke my heart that there's so many actors and creatives who had to go. There's nothing wrong with waiting on tables, don't get me wrong, but I mean, there's so many people that can't pursue their real talent because they don't make a decent wage in their real talent. And so I was always thinking, how do I create platforms? That was what inspired me to create the first ever for-profit theater company in Singapore, and then that was what then prompted me to,
Hmm.
when I was running an education group, be able to use my ability to work in the universities to hire university students and then
Mm-hmm.
get them to be interns and then get them to be working in my activation group and then creating a healthy ecosystem of them being able to create, find meaningful work, and then be able to contribute to society. So it's already doing that ecosystem, right, without even really having a clear idea. And then, of course, when I came into this digital space, I read the white paper of the Sandbox, and I thought they're very thoughtful in about really wanting to create an ecosystem because a lot of folks were talking about wanting to create, but really what they're trying to do was really to monetize and get as much money as possible into this. It's not to say it's a bad thing, but I was just saying like if we posit to want to create a creator economy, then there must be things that we are doing to sustain that, to encourage that, to empower. And that was what I saw about the Sandbox. And they've consistently done that. And so that is why when Sebastian asked me to be part of the DAO, I obviously said yes, also because by then we'd become one of the more prolific builders in the Sandbox space as well. And so I continue to want to believe in this vision. And so that was how we've become so affiliated, interpolated with the Sandbox community.
Hmm. It's just a natural affinity.
Yeah, yeah. It
And
was a
I'm
natural.
seeing it. The create, connect, communicate, people, purpose, possibilities, and I can see how that. I similarly connected with the Sandbox when I saw. For me, it was more about the all the different connections that just converged. You had
Yeah,
your creators, your level designers, your even your speculators, but your business people, and just it was just this mass convergence on the Sandbox. And now we have the DAO, which is another convergence. It's just, boy, it's so awesome. So,
exactly, exactly. And you know, as the saying goes, it really takes a village. And I think
mm-hmm.
you need the foresight and the fortitude to be able to bring all of this together, right? It's not easy. And so that is also why when I see folks that are trying to do similar things, that I definitely want to lean in and support in whatever way I can, because I've also done that all my life in real world spaces. And now I'm beginning to bring those together, right? So really trying to interpolate both my Web 2 experience and this Web 3 world together. And I think that's where Smobler sits very uniquely, really trying to converge Web 2 and Web 3 worlds.
Smobler. All right. Nova 2024. So
Yeah.
what was let's fast forward now. Thank you for detailing your background. I think it makes one of the things that I say we, the community was very articulate in its response after the initial announcement of the DAO, and something that you talked about in your AMAs was who is the advisory board? Who are they? What do they stand for? What do they like? And you did some introductions yourself, so I appreciated you expounding on that. And let's fast forward to the board. How did it come to be How were you offered the opportunity to join the board, and what was your motivation in joining it?
I think the board, as you can tell, I think very diverse, right? I can tell that uh, part of the motivation is definitely diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think we could see representation from the Asian community, and then you could see representation from Ina, as
Ina Moja, yeah.
and then you could that, and then there's also Matthew. I can't pronounce his Brazilian name, but the sports athlete. I call him Matt. So Matt is also on board, and I think what we really
Matthew
try to do
Vivian.
exactly is to ensure that we have diversity from different geographies, from different races, backgrounds, gender, sexuality. I think what we tried to really do was to bring an intersection of as much diversity as we can in a very small group,
Mm-hmm.
and to also ensure that the different verticals are at least considered, whether it's music or Metaverse for good, social enterprise, or sports, or art, or commerce. And so if you looked at all the bios of every single person in the special counsel or the advisory board, you can tell that diversity was definitely key in the consideration of the members. And also, it was that these individuals had to stand for something. Like we must have already had illustrious careers from before the sandbox, and that we have extensive amount of experience to back what we're doing. So I do think that a significant amount of consideration and research was done before these individuals were fielded. So I feel incredibly humble and honored to be on the team with all of these individuals.
And what was it about the advisory board? You mentioned the diversity part and ensuring that it was well represented. What about the offer to join the advisory board just made it an easy yes for you, or an automatic yes?
I think it was already aligned with who I am, right? I think so much of this was already aligned with who I am. And plus, I've already had a relationship with the Sandbox, and I already know the founders, and I'm already so interrelated with the community. So I think aside from like that personal affiliation, and it was also just believing in the vision.
Mm.
Again, I go back to is it going to be easy? Is it going to be an easy sell? No, but I've often always said, nothing. If it's too easy, then it's not worth doing, right? Someone else can do it. I like doing things that are challenging. I like to be in liminal spaces where we're the cusp of building something that's tough, it's difficult. People will call you crazy. You are a square
Yeah.
example. Those are exactly the kinds of spaces that I truly enjoy. And so when I was asked by Sebastian Bourget, I obviously, it was an offer I could not refuse. Plus, like I said, it was so in line with who I
Offer you
was.
couldn't refuse.
I could not, right? There was just no way. And it was really allowing me to be able to be more connected with folks like you. Nothing brings me more joy than when I receive an email, a request, a tweet, a text to say, "Can we speak to you about this? Can we have you on our AME and a podcast?" I mean, to me, it's like, wow. I mean, there's an impact on what we're doing, and so in fact,
Mm-hmm.
more and folks always say, "Oh, thank you for your time," or so. I'm like, no, 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 you don't understand. Like, I'm humbled that you're asking, and I'm humbled that someone out there is actually even listening and paying attention to what we're doing. I think we are so grateful
The
that folks
feeling's
like you
mutual,
out there
Loretta.
take this so seriously. So thank you. Like, I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you that's on board and listening and part of this conversation.
Yeah. It takes a village, like you said. Takes
Yeah.
a village. Thank you. That I think as time progresses and people understand, that we're all people. Like the advisory board, it's not just some friend circle club. It's
Yeah.
there's thought. There's thought and effort put into the way this DAO has been formulated and the way that it's being executed along a timeline and a vision. Um, I hear Seb frequently say he wants to be the cultural capital of the metaverse, and just I see a consistency in his efforts and now the efforts of the DAO to help bring that about. And yeah, I've been wanting to, especially when you popped up in those first few AMAs. I knew I wanted to get you in as soon as I possibly could to
Thank you.
to understand this. And so what would you say? I've read the DAO Constitution and the bylaws and the articles and memorandums. What would you say, in your words, is your role on the advisory board?
To humanize it. I always said that.
Hey, all right. Now that is a
Yeah, I always
fascinating
said that I'm
answer.
probably like the least qualified person. Like, don't ask me about a blockchain, or don't ask me about, some layer one, layer two, layer zero. I'm always learning from the degens in my team, or don't ask me about the meme coins or the shit coins, but I also always say that um, if I can make if I can understand it and I can explain it in a way that someone else can understand it, then I think we've done our job. I think my role is to often always be the conduit between these convoluted new concepts that sound very like this behemoth and of
Hmm.
stuff, and just to
These
be able to,
nebulous things that the
yeah,
buzzwords we
just get
throw out.
straight to the point and what makes people tick, what gets to people's heart. If people understand it, they will get it, they will have buy-in. I think when you give folks a lot of jargon and you tell them, I mean, there's some, don't get me wrong, there's some folks that really geek out on that. Um, and that there is a forum for that, and there is a ambassadors for that, and there's spokespeople for that who do that exceedingly well. I'm not that person. I will humanize it. I was basically just recently, I was in a Bitcoin conference and I was in a panel. Michael Saylor was there.
Yeah,
And I was
Tennessee,
asked the
right?
same,
I saw that.
yeah, yeah. And I was asked the same thing. And I said, I humanize the
Nashville,
face.
Tennessee.
Yeah. I said, I humanize the face of cryptocurrency. I humanize the face of GameFi and Web3. It's like fundamentally, if I can speak it like it matters to somebody, I think that's my role. Fundamentally, if people ask me why I got into this space, was because, and then I would say it's because I wanted to be able to democratize technology, democratize
Hmm.
access, availability of data, and to be able to allow creators to have the ability to own their own creativity, to monetize their own creativity, to be able to put food on their table, because now we're creating jobs. And I will tell you, recently I went through an exercise in Smobler, anecdotally. I spoke with every single staff member in Smobler, and I will tell you that what always moves me and chokes me to tears is when they say, "Wow, we're so happy being at Smobler." And I know that they're being genuine. Like, they don't have to just say this to me because I'm the founder, but they're like, "We're so happy to be doing what we love." And that makes me so happy, because I know that it's a fact, because some of them have always wanted to be in gaming, have always wanted to be a creator, have always wanted to have the flexibility, especially for working for moms. Like, they're literally having their interviews with me with their toddlers in their arms. And
Aw.
so just the ability to know that I have impacted their lives and created jobs and allowed them to put food on the table, and to be able to play the games that they create with their kids. Like, these are the things that really inspire me as a founder. I mean, obviously, yes, I need to still make money, be able to have the 10x, 100x ROI to show my investors. But fundamentally, what keeps me going, go back to purpose possibilities, is to be able to provide for my team. If I can't take care of my team, I can't take care of my community. It's the same thing. And so
Hmm.
that makes me super happy that the work that I do here has been able to empower my team and in my community. So yeah, super exciting
And
time.
what about your role and actions thus far in the advisory board has enabled you to do those things?
It is moments like this. To your point, I pick up an earlier point that you said, that the DAO community or board was very well thought of, because I will tell you that I didn't know a lot of the folks in the community. It's not like we're all buddies and we all hang out together like an old boys and girls club. Some of us, yes, we do know of each other, but we actually never had the chance to be connected. So I was really excited to get to know Ina a little bit better. I was really excited to know Mia a little bit better. I was really excited to know Anthony a little bit better, and now we're collaborating together on a music project for disability. I got to know Matt a little bit better. So, you know, uh, uh, just having the DAO actually brought many of us who are already leaders in the space a lot closer together. So we weren't like hanging out in some, country club sipping champagne. So that already, and it was also a pun, right? The sip is meant to be a pun on like sipping
Yeah,
champagne.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, touche,
But we were
touche.
not doing that previously. I think we now are able to know each other a little bit better, and that in itself is an opportunity, right, to get to know folks. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, so the role is really for me to be an ambassador, to listen, to hear all of you. I love it when all of you reach out to me and write to me and tweet and ask and challenge. I really appreciate that, and that makes me feel like I'm a useful part of the community and the DAO. So please keep on doing that.
Love it. Love it. And how often do you all meet as an advisory board?
To be honest, we actually don't meet that often, but what we do have is we have a Slack channel where we're consistently and constantly chatting. We also have a WhatsApp group where we're consistently chatting. And we also have frequent emails with each other. And then Cyril also makes it a point to reach out to all the advisors. And we have our Zoom meets as we do, and we have connections. And every time there's a new SIP or there's a new
Feline
what's
acrobatics at work right
yes,
there.
feline acrobatics. And so we are definitely always in conversations and communications with each other. And today too, I think because of the diverse time zones, etc., a lot of the communication is done through these mediums, whether it's through Slack or WhatsApp and email and these virtual calls.
And without getting into like the privileged conversations bit, what is it that you all communicate about?
About how do we honestly, it's nothing a closed door that I can't talk about. It really is about how do we motivate and get people to vote. I think that comes up a lot. How does this particular SIP or initiative benefit the community? How do we communicate that to the community a little bit better? I think a lot of our conversations often premise on how do we do better. I will say, if I had to surmise a lot of our conversations is how do we do better? How do we get the communication out? How can we mobilize our community better? How can we get people to vote? As in real life, like in an election, right? We could do, the panels, the forums, the television, the debate, the song and dance. But fundamentally, it's always about how do we get people more involved? That
Hmm.
really is truly
And what would you say you found so far to be some more effective success mechanisms that you've discovered at your conversations?
As in the most successful initiatives to do what? To get people to go out and
Right,
vote, or
right.
so
Mm-hmm.
it, but honestly, it's just consistency,
Got it.
consistency. It is to consistently get the word out, to be tireless, and to get your word out in various modalities, whether it's the media platforms,
Sure.
to get
Mhm.
folks who have a huge following. But fundamentally, it goes back to winning the hearts and minds of people. And today we need to cut through a lot of different distractions to get to people's hearts and minds and eventually their time with their fingers, vote with their fingers and their wallets. And so it is really getting to the hearts and minds of folks. It's still it's fundamentally that. Yeah.
And have you, and I ask this with all sensitivity, have you seen some of the sentiments that I'm sure you saw them in the beginning, the sentiments that were immediately expressed following the announcement of the DAO? Have you seen how that sentiment has been trending? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think as with all things, like I said, I've never been one to fade away if there is a challenge. In fact, I think that
And let me
people
just tell
should.
you how much I appreciate that, by the way, because
Oh,
that is excellent. That is an excellent quality. Is that initial intensity is something I think anyone in the Sand fam could have anticipated that.
yeah,
And then the continued presence, I thought
yeah.
really was very productive. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Continue.
No, no, not at all. Not at all. But that is exactly what it is. Starting anything is difficult. I've often always anything that I did, right? Like I said, not just about the DAO, like I was the first person to speak on LGBTQIA rights in Singapore, like very open about it, right? Always really open about supporting creators. I mean, my entire track record and history can back me up in that, right? Even before I was the founder of Smobler, like I've had a whole track record of doing that, speaking up for women. And, I was even nominated for public office. So I think
Yeah,
if I was
you were nominated for Parliament,
a
was
member
it?
of parliament, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
See, I did my
And
homework.
you absolutely did. Yeah, and I was, shortlisted to, be in the women's wing. I mean, back to a national day in Singapore, but just having these, just never be afraid to speak my truth or the truth of the community. I think
Hmm.
authenticity is something that we really cherish and relish today, but I was already speaking my truth way back when it was not comfortable or not pleasant or frowned
When it
upon.
had some very real world consequences, and
Exactly.
maybe you weren't in the position that you are now to withstand that
Exactly,
sort of,
exactly.
yeah.
And actually, and this is where I'll give a shout out, Shane, thank you for saying that. Like even in my earliest book that was published in 2014, over 10 years ago, where I documented some of my trials and tribulations being a really young creator, being female and Asian and a very young creator in a fairly conservative part of the world. I mean, I documented those challenges and I often always say like, to never be afraid of them. I mean, that's exactly when you grow. And I actually documented all of this with my challenges of censorship, my challenges with, powers that be, with institutions. But those I've always prevailed because I think the key is persistence, consistency, and authenticity. Because people will believe you. They may not agree with you, but I think an exercise in being able to debate, an exercise in being able to listen, uh, really forces you to become clearer in your thought as well. So for me, this in itself, what we're doing is always an act of clarification, clarity, and getting better in what we're doing. So whenever there is dissension, it also means that guess what? People care. It's when they don't care,
Yes,
they don't talk
yes.
about it, they're apathetic, they switch off. That's when I think we have the bigger problem. But when people lean in, they comment, they critique, they, picket fence, it means it matters. That's power. And so, I would take on these challenges any day compared to somebody who's like, I don't care, you know. Yeah, so I will say I always appreciate any sort of dissension, disagreement, because it means people care, and
Yep.
everyone has a point of view, and we all have different histories, different baggage, different points of view, different interpolations of the world, and so it's really important we listen.
Yeah. That's what inspired podcast number one
I
with
lost you. I
Hoddle
can't hear
Hill
you.
and
Oh, there,
Andy
there you are.
Ritchie.
Yeah,
And the podcast that started all this off was, I knew that there was an undercurrent happening during these AMAs because I could hear it. I mean, I've been a gamer and a player and an avatar, and we all talk to each other, right? That we're all connected in that way. And I really wanted to hear from some of the people who I knew they weren't exactly speaking up, and I'm like, that's concerning because they're voices that we want to listen to.
yeah,
And Hoddle Hill
yeah,
and Andy was the start of it. It didn't stop there.
yeah,
Crafter and Joseph and I'll get Touche on and all sorts of voices that are just, I want to keep them in the conversation because to
yeah,
not do that, I mean, what's the alternative? They
yeah,
leave or they fight and then there's negativity and this, it doesn't need to be that way. It
yeah,
doesn't.
yeah.
That we have
100.
differences, sure. Let's talk it
Yeah,
out because we're a community. We're a Sam
yeah.
fam. So
Exactly.
anyways, I'm thank you for attending my TED talk. Anyway, so Women on Top: The Art of Smashing Stereotypes and Breaking All the Rules, is that the one?
Yeah, that was my first book. It was published by Marshall Cavendish. It's one of Singapore's national publishers or top publishers. And like I said, I'm really thankful that my books are published by the Straits Times Press, our national publisher, as well as Marshall Cavendish. And so yeah,
Yeah, that's
I've
excellent.
had the opportunity
How about that?
to write my autobiography at a really fairly early age, and I can't wait to see what my next 20 years would be. I'm pretty sure I'll have
Yeah,
more stories to tell. And yeah, I'm on to my sixth book now, so exciting.
yeah. M slash other from December 2022,
Oh yeah,
inspiring
Mother.
women of
So
Hawaii. Hawaii.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
How about that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so Mother actually won an award, and that's really close to my heart too, because it really talks about alternative modalities of motherhood and parenthood. So the mothers that I feature are not just biological women, but also transgender dads, LGBTQIA mom and dads, foster mom, foster dads, migrant moms, rape survivor moms, terminally ill moms, and really just wanted to shed light. Again, I often always want to use whatever position I have to shed light on conversations that people don't typically hear about. Like I said, the danger is not when people are speaking up and having a disagreement. The danger is when we don't hear them, we don't see them, we
Mm-hmm.
silence them
Yeah.
consciously. So I feel like part of my joy and role in this world is to be a light, a ladder, and a lamp to be able to shed light, empower, elevate conversations of folks who typically don't get a chance to be heard. And so that was
Yeah.
really,
And
in
it
fact,
seemed like that's
my whole
exactly
body
what
of
you
work
did. Yeah,
is
and
exactly
collection of
what I do.
20 interviews. How
Yeah,
about that?
thank you.
And
Thank
I
you.
can appreciate that because I myself have books on, but nothing of this magnitude. Although,
Uh,
to anyone who's a prospective author out there, so again, she and I both authors. The hardest thing, and my opinion, the hardest thing about writing a book is getting to the end of writing it. The publishing aspect is so accessible. It's like creating a Facebook account on Amazon and you can just get your book out there. It is very accessible now, whereas I imagine back in 2014 when you did your first one, maybe there was a little more gatekeeping that you had to get through.
in fact, like I said, and you're absolutely right. I mean, that therefore I said I'm very thankful that I have the blessing of institutionalized publishing, right? It's the national press that publishes my books. But yes,
Hmm.
not many people have the ability to say I'm published by XYZ. But today, to your point, yes, I think publishing has become so much more accessible, just as gaming has been. I think
Yeah.
so many of the tools that we take for granted today, if you just look back just 20 years or just 10 years ago, none of these tools were as accessible as
Right.
they are
Yeah.
today. But yeah,
Yeah, you
you're
if you are a prospective author, just get the book finished. Just get to the end, and the rest of it will lay itself out for you. I promise you. She and I have written both multiple books and published them. I created my own publishing company to publish my own books.
wow,
So
that's
that's
amazing.
so I took the how do I publish this, and I did the same thing with my music. Is I just researched how to be my own publisher and get it on iTunes, and that there is a way. I promise you, and we both are
Well, there's a
living proof
way.
of it.
Agree, agree. Well
Me
said.
the more bootstrapper, and you the more illustrious. Let's call it.
No, no, no. It takes all kinds, as you can tell. My cat is sort of
Yeah,
dominating. Yeah.
persistent kitty acrobatics going on.
Oh, persistent. She's the queen of the show. Yeah,
So
I
back to the back to the DAO. Did you have any input into the Constitution or the incorporation documents?
No, that I will say I did not. So I think what we did have is we had a chance to peruse it early on, but I did not actually contribute to the formulation of the document. No,
Do you recall if anyone else on the advisory board did?
not to the best of my knowledge, but it could be a lack of awareness and knowledge on my part. But I myself can say that I did not have
Okay.
uh, I was not privy to the formulation of the Constitution.
Was there any sort of not debate, any sort of discussion about it before it went live on May 28th?
I think by and large the community or at least the advisory board were pretty much quite in sync with
Okay.
what was proposed. I think we were more excited about the possibilities of launching the DAO. So we were fairly unanimous in our decision to go ahead with what was proposed.
Okay, got it. Got it.
I love that you're taking notes live as we're going. It's wonderful. You're just multitasking, you're podcasting, you're taking notes, you're listening.
I'll tell you what,
Yeah,
it's more for my sanity than it is just for, I like to keep track because it's these things just are networks. Like and Yatsu says all the time, network effects, and network effects, but these things
that's
all
right.
connect together and it's really interesting to piece together like, oh, so that's why later on you said this, it connects straight to that. Now I get it. It's like constellations forming.
It's like
Yeah, it
the composability, absolutely. It's just knowledge forming on knowledge. And I remember back in the day, we had my dad who spent tons of money buying an encyclopedia. And if you had an encyclopedia, you were like pedigree. But today it's like, we have all these free resources and,
mm-hmm.
it's like the composability and we just build on each other's networks and knowledge information.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you meet separate? You kind of answered this a little bit, but I wanted to ask it more outright. Do you meet separate from the special counsel, or is there a combined meeting of any kind?
For now, what we do is we have our own conversations with the head of DAO is Cyril, and then we meet with Cyril, and then we have a lot of our conversations, like I said, through Slack and through the WhatsApp channels. I don't think, to the best of my recollection, we have not had one big meeting together of all the council members and all the advisory members. I think really it's more the fact that we are all because one of the things about having such diverse representation is also that we're going to be having very different time zones, and just being able to be all in the same room could be difficult. But I would imagine whenever there's an opportunity to, I would say sure. I'm sure we'll all relish the opportunity to be together.
Yeah. So, do each of you on the advisory board, do you have different purposes that you fulfill, or is it not quite laid out in that cemented fashion?
I think it's just like how, like I would imagine a parliament is sort of made up, that each person represents a certain constituency, but we don't just speak up for that, right? Like I think I would imagine I was called upon because of a lot of my work dealing with social good and education, and supporting diverse voices, right? Often always talking about the metaverse for good and providing opportunity and equity as a social equity advocate and
Mm-hmm.
artist. Imagine like that is my one great value add and trump card. But then there are folks like Matt, which is more on athleticism and sports and a sporting arena, and speaking up for LATAM and in a different a part of the world. And then you have Ina, and you have Anthony that speaks to music, and you have Mia, who really is very much a degen and a technologist, and so I
Mia
think
is?
each Mia Bao.
Yeah. How about that?
Yeah,
She's the one I haven't been able to get to yet and see a lot of, but
yeah.
I do intend to.
Yeah, so I think a lot of us have very core strengths, but we
Mm-hmm.
don't just have to represent that. Because I also think that we are all such diverse individuals with, multiple roles and intersectionalities and strengths and experiences. So when we show up as us and bringing all our experiences together. But yet, yes, I think we're definitely selected for to be representative of the verticals that we tend to be associated with. But we don't just have to speak up for that. So it's not
Gotcha.
like
Okay.
that would have to respond on sport, and only the Retta would have to respond on education and the arts and social equity. So we are all just called on, whenever the opportunity arises, and we'll volunteer our time and give of our time and resources very willingly. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I recently watched a video. I think it was a TEDx talk with Zaf. So that was fascinating to listen
Yeah.
to her speak. And I say her without knowing all the pronouns. So if you have any corrections,
Yeah,
I
it
would.
is. Yeah,
Okay.
she is proudly LGBTQIA, but she is she her. And I
Okay.
actually have quite a few TEDx talks and TED talks as well, TEDx talks, but then they're all closed door TEDx talks, and so I don't know if they're online. But yeah, I'm
Hmm.
so glad that you really do your research on all of the advisors
Yeah,
and the DAO
you
members.
let them know that I intend to reach out to every single one of them. I
I
already reached
will.
out to Ina, and congratulations, by the way. She just sung at the Olympics. I
That's
just saw.
right.
So that
Yeah.
was awesome. And she not long ago sung at the United Nations. Like she is wow, well, quite the musician and the advocate for deforestation. It was fascinating to watch some of her content and the things that
Yeah.
she's doing with the green. They call it the green wall, I think.
Agree. Yeah. Green
Yeah,
wall. Mhm.
so you let them know. I'm gonna reach out to every single one of them and see,
I will
invite
do
them
so.
on.
I will immediately put that in our Slack group and our WhatsApp group. I will.
I would love to get to know each of them and hear their perspective and yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What would you say that you would want to achieve before the re-elections are going to happen in December of next year?
Thank you for asking that. I would say I would love to be able to have the opportunity to connect with as many community members as much as possible, such as yourself. I would like to have the ability to listen to all your concerns, considerations. I would love to be able to understand your challenges, understand what else we can do better. I think aside from, seeing things that went well and good. Everyone loves to hear that, right? We're all human. I think it's really important to want to listen to the things that people aren't happy about, the things that we can do better in. I will appreciate if more and more folks reach out to me. I'm less active on Twitter or X than I am in LinkedIn, but I'm really public. If you Google me, Loretta Chen, I think, or email loretta@smoblerstudios.com. I'm really very accessible, or try to make myself as accessible as possible. There are just some platforms that I'm more active on, like
Yeah,
LinkedIn.
I was very pleasantly. I was very happy to see how easy it was to to reach you and to talk with
Oh,
you and for us to set this up. Like there was very little friction at all, and I really appreciated that.
yeah, at the end of the day, I think it doesn't matter how busy we are, right? I mean, I often joke and say, how do you get something done? Give it to a busy person, right? I think if it matters, we are going to want to get it done. And, when I commit to this role, I really mean it. Like, I want to be able to listen to the community. And I mean, leadership is really about, in the service of others. That really is
Hmm.
a joy to be able to serve and to be able to use whatever platforms that we have to be able to listen to every single person. We know that that's not possible, but we want to be there. At least for me, I want to be there as much as possible. And so my aim would be to be able to touch and have the ability to connect with as many of our San fam, with or without, in or out of our San fam, but to commit to be able to connect with our community to the best of my ability.
And
Yeah.
is
But
there
that means I
anything?
rely on you to keep reaching out, and I'll do my best to
Yeah,
keep.
no,
I
this
want to
is
listen.
I'm in it. I am committed. I love what we're doing. I love the vision, and it's I am seeing the difficulties though. I am seeing that tension play out firsthand as a SIP author myself, but just to trying to help like Pepe from Sandrush Magic Palette, the first community SIP, that
Yes.
quorum was difficult. Like I
Yeah.
at the same time I had a podcast with Moca CN, which is the Chinese community for the Mocaverse, which was
Yeah.
fortuitous because they had access to a large land ownership network of people. So I said, hey, how do we reach out to them and submit Pepe's SIP for consideration? And that was one of the things that helped propel that into 30 million. I wouldn't put that on my as an I did that, but the community we Pepe reached out to Mocha CN reached out to their people, and then they said, hey, this is a great thing. Let's vote for it. And that moved it across that 25 to 30 million that we needed in like the last 48 hours. It was we were like it was it
That's
was
really
real
amazing.
close there.
And no, Lancer, I mean, Sean, I think that really, Shane, that really
Yeah,
also
Shane,
brings me.
please.
So that also really brings me to, one of the things that's the reason why I always think it's so important to have a community, because I come from a really small country, right? Again, go back to my Happy National Day, Singapore, become a really small country. And fun fact, we have about 5.6, 5.7 million people in Singapore, which is about approximately the number of people that have, the number of Sandbox holders and Sandbox wallet users, right? So we have like what 5.6 million in the Sandbox and 5.6 million in Singapore. It is small compared to the rest of the world. We are a very small country. And so I think, one of the things is getting our voices heard out there. And I think that is also why I always relish the opportunity to make connections. And honestly, even though I seem very gregarious and extroverted and I'm very chatty, honestly, I'm fairly private in the sense that I'm not private with what I think. I'm very public about it. I'm just not one of those that is constantly on Instagram, constantly on Twitter, constantly on LinkedIn, because to be quite honest, I'm really busy with my day to day. And
It's hard for
because
me too. Yeah.
and also because I think it's a function of age, because I'm not a Gen Xer. I didn't grow up with all these devices. Like, so just, there's some folks who are constantly tweeting, like Sebastian, I was always joke, right? He can run a company and be able to be tweeting all day. I think it's also one, the intention and ability, but also I'm less of a I'm a Gen Xer, right? So I'm just looking at my peers too. We're not going to be consistently on the social media platforms. Like I told you, I really am a broadcast media person. I come from TV and radio and publishing. That is where I'm most comfortable. But yet I know the media landscape is changing. So part of your previous question too that I also want to acknowledge too is that I may not be the most prolific on social media, and I'm not going to be the most active poster on X, but doesn't mean I don't care. In fact, I truly care. When anyone reaches out, I will definitely respond to the best of my
I,
abilities.
I think this is evidence enough, to be honest. A total stranger reached out and said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And you're like, "Heck yeah, let's
Yeah,
do
sure.
it."
Do it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so fabulous. So, would you say that there's anything that at the end of your time, whether you're reelected, or you seek reelection or not, would you say that there's something at the end of that where you'd say, "Yeah, I reached the right number of people," or we communicated the right number of things? Is there any measurement of that, or is it just let's just be consistent until when it happens?
I will say, it's still very early days. I think, we can only have comparisons, or we can only know how well we've done if we have enough material to compare against. I
Mm-hmm.
think
Yeah.
we need now is consistency, persistence, fortitude to be able to chart a course, to get more and more people involved, to get more people to lean in. And as much as I think the more participation, interest, dissension, disagreement, the more active engagement we see, I would say like that should be our core and our focus and our drive. I think it'd be too early to start saying, "Oh, we did better than, July." Or, of course, I mean, we can say, "Okay, there's more conversations in May because we just launched, and there's more conversations maybe in during this SIP, or maybe things slowed down during New Year's Eve." I mean, sure, right? There'll be these metrics for us to then gauge, when is a good time to launch conversations. I think those kinds of analysis is always useful, but I think to not be too bogged down by these smaller metrics, especially for now when we're building up a movement, right? I
Sure.
think
Yeah.
it's important for now to not lose the forest for the tree. These markers of success are important. It allows us to sort of chart our way, looking back at the breadcrumbs and seeing how far we've come. But because we're so early, I think it's really important to look forward. Of course, we need to look back and just check our bearings, right?
Mm.
But even though there are challenges, I think it's really important to push forth, especially if we're doing something difficult, especially if you're doing something that is first and it's challenging and it's new. It's really important to just keep going.
Yeah. And what would you say is something that the community can do to help either involve the advisory board more? Is there something that we can do to enable more participation? Is there something we're not doing? What would you say?
I think you folks are doing exactly the right thing. Like even just you, reaching out and just saying, "Hey, we want to have you an AMA," or, "Hey, we want to be able to do this with you and do that," or reaching out to the advisory board and being very proactive and connecting. I will say like that is key because if you folks don't reach out to us, I mean, we're really just conduits and just representation, right? So please use us as much as possible to speak up, to be a touch point, to be of service to you. So I will say that really is my one ask for all of you to connect and reach out, and I'll make myself as accessible and as available to listen, to empathize, to learn. I think that's really crucial as well. And so, yeah, all I ask is for the community to consistently reach out. That would be like my one ask, and folks like
Okay.
you who are amazing work and taking time off, from your already very busy work, um, in the military, as I learned, and to do this, So kudos to you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. The one thing that I've been very eager to know is I understand after reading the bylaws and the Constitution, I understand the let's call it the where the rubber meets the road of the special counsel, like where they vote on things, they vote for the legality, redundancy, the morality of SIPs that cross their path. The more nebulous thing, the less clear thing was how the advisory board contributes to the day to day of the DAO. And I think things like this, where we can reach out and have these conversations, and it's starting to sound like maybe a good place, a good use of your time. And I say it that way because I noticed in the Constitution that you all aren't taking a salary for this. You're doing this of your own free will and volition. And
Correct.
volunteership. And thank you, first of all, for that, by the way.
Thank
Your
you.
considerable expertise, as well as the rest of the advisory board, which I will find a way to get you on here. But but I want to be cognizant of the way I ask this, which is when is too much? When is it too much demanding from a volunteer role? Because if you say connect with me, you've got thousands of Sand fam who could just, when is it too much, or what is that ideal state?
I think, it really differs from person to person. I happen to have a really wide bandwidth. I think, every individual, I can't speak for the other advisors of my on my team. Everyone is incredibly busy and illustrious. As you said, Ina is, doing everything from singing in the Paris Olympics to, all of us is caught up in, we have families, we have businesses to run, we have communities we also serve, aside from the San Fran. So every advisor is different. For me, I don't think I have reached a breaking point. I happen to have, like I said, I somehow my cup is always running over, but never full. It's just continuously replenishes itself, and it's full, and then it kind of overflows, and then there's room for more. I kind of see that is probably my visual metaphor for myself. It's always full and overflowing, and then it's filling up some more. Um, but also, I think uh, for me personally, everything that I hear and listen fuels me in my own work, my own growth, my own learning as well. I don't see it as a chore. I don't see it as, painful. It really is my perspective on life as well. So I don't quite know how to answer that question. Uh,
That's
but
okay.
but
It's fine.
yeah, but I will say that personally for me, uh, I don't get enervated. In fact, I get energized the more I'm challenged and pushed and questioned. It makes me feel
Nice.
like
Me
people
too.
listen. They care. When they push your buttons and they reach out to you, it's because they care. Yeah,
Yep. Yeah, they care to engage. That uh,
it
that
takes
that to
effort.
me is one of the best lessons I learned when I co-founded my own player-run organization. I mentioned the Guinness World Record, so I co-founded a player organization for a game called the Planet Side 2, and it acted as like a cross between, if you're familiar with the NFL and ESPN. So we organized player tournaments, and then we broadcasted that with color commentators, and so it was like we were the NFL and we were the ESPN that covered the matches, and that was our player led organization. And we were hosting and organizing matches with 400 players every single week. It was just week after week, and we ended up doing like 50 or 70 of them. I can't remember now. It's been that many. And one day someone's like, "Hey, what's the Guinness World Record for the most players in an online first person shooter match?" We looked it up, and it was only 900. And we regularly break that as a game all the time. So we got with the game developers of that game, and not long after that, we were able to organize a Guinness World Record breaking match, which earned us the earned us that. So we broke it with like 1,100 players, and we still hold the record. So
Wow! 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 Congratulations. Let's see if Smobler can try and beat that record.
do it, do it. I
Yeah.
welcome it. I welcome it. But
Well,
it was
congratulations.
I brought
Wonderful,
that up to say
wonderful.
that I was what was known as I was head of like the North American uh, the Americas division. So we had like a European person, and so I would field all of the complaints. I would do all of the, if there were investigations that happened because of player conduct, I would conduct that on for the North American and the South American region, and that frequently brought me into contact with a lot of people who had criticisms and all that sort of stuff, and I learned there that the worst thing is the silence. if
Exactly.
if like the
Exactly.
Reddit threads, all the Reddit flames, I welcomed it. I loved it. I was like, just give me more, because all that's doing is helping. It's educating. I can listen and I can embody that, and I can understand, even if it's like full of distracting languages and insults and all that sort of stuff. That's fine. What matters is what is the essence of the dispute, and then work through that. And boy, that was a life altering lesson for me, and people who did not have to care, and they did.
Yeah, I feel like I should interview you for my own podcast and radio show. Never get one again. But yeah, yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
well, thank you. So the best ways I think I heard to get in touch with you is Twitter, but you're not on there nearly as much as you are LinkedIn.
Yeah, I am a lot on LinkedIn also because a lot of the work that I do is still Web 2, Web 2.5. Definitely my team, I have like DJs and a team that are consistently on Twitter, like Crypto Overlord. A big shout out to him. He runs our Web 3 community. But
Really, I didn't know
definitely
that. Okay.
yeah, but definitely I am Loretta Chen on every single media platform, LORETTHNCHEN. So please reach out to me, whether it's email, Twitter, Telegram, Instagram. I think the only platform that I don't have right now is TikTok. So
Hmm.
maybe I should tread into those waters at some point.
If you're ready for it to consume your life of funny videos and cat videos and all sorts of stuff, sure, sure.
I live with 25 cats. I have a ton of meme videos all in my bedroom. So
Yeah. So that will move us out of the prepared discussion questions. Let's move into that open topic you said you wanted to talk about. We touched on it briefly.
sure,
Singapore National Independence Day is today,
that's
August
right.
9th,
Yes,
1965 is when that
yes,
happened.
yeah, that's right. And so yeah, big shout out to all my friends and family in Singapore. Majulah Singapura. Like I said, you can take the girl out of Singapore, but you can't take Singapore out of the girl. I'm
Hmm.
always very thankful for the opportunities that I have in Singapore. But also, like I said, I think I always understand why it's so important to always reach beyond and out because Singapore is a very, very small country. I think many people may or may not know that Singapore, currently has, it's a very small country, like I said, about, 5.67 million people, like about the same as the Sandbox. And yet we have a GDP per capita that is like the United States of America. Some days is way more. And so we have become
Wow.
a
Very
yes,
industrious.
we have become a first world country in 4 decades, which really is a feat. And I think this is something that is often talked about in popular media. And so I think on our National Day, I just really want to give a shout out to my team in Singapore, my friends and family. But I think it has given me and imbued in me a spirit of the can do, right? The ability to, when we set our head to something, we get it done. Because not many people know, but Singapore became independent today in 1965, 59 years ago, and we did not we were not we didn't actively gain our independence. We were orphaned. I think that's a story that is not
Hmm.
often told, that we were actually orphaned and left to our own devices because we were ejected from the Malaya Federation. And so we have turned our biggest crisis into opportunity. We have turned our biggest, threat, impediment about being orphaned in, you know, from our hinterland because we were cut off from all natural resources and we didn't even have water. Singapore is an island with no, potable water back then, 59 years ago. And so when we were cut off, I think it's a story that I often love to tell, that I think that's also why I'm proudly Singaporean in the sense that I will always have this sense of grit and tenacity and, overcoming all odds. And I think that's a really wonderful way to celebrate my heritage and my culture on our 59th birthday.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, right, bordering Malaysia, and
Yeah,
also right next to Indonesia,
that's right.
Brunei.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So
I
that's my
do I do
little
really want to
island
visit
city
Singapore
state.
one day. I won't be able to make it to Nova 2024, but I will I will endeavor to do that. And then once I do, I'm gonna definitely go look up. Uh, is Smobler? Are you all in Singapore?
Yeah, so I live in Hawaii, but Smobler is headquartered in Singapore, and now we have expanded and we have representation in Brazil. We have obviously
Nice.
representation in the United States, in Hawaii, in New York, in California, in Texas.
That's
And
cool.
we're also growing our presence in Vietnam, in the Philippines. So, it's a really exciting time to be building, and we want to keep on building with all of your support. Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, when you
Awesome.
come to Singapore, you have to let me know, and
I'll
I'll
look you up.
there. If I'm there, I'll host you. Otherwise, I'll get my team to take you out to eat great Hakka food. Like if you watch Crazy Rich Asians, we're gonna take you to like the Hakka Center. Local food. Yeah,
uh,
that's,
I would love that. I would
that's,
appreciate that. That'd be
that's a
special.
done deal.
So thank you. Is there anything that you wanted to cover? Anything near and dear to your heart that we didn't talk about
Oh
before
no, I
we
mean, like
head
I
toward
said, this is
closing?
such a bumper. This is one of the longest podcasts I've been on. I just hope that your community is still listening in. But if there's anything I can
They
add,
are.
wow, is to
We've
see
been
it.
staying steady the whole
Wow,
time.
wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Big shout out to all of you. Hugs and kisses. Hug, hug. So if anything, Nova, it's going to be super exciting. Please join us September 17th, 6 to 9 p.m. It'll be at ARC 11. We have Champ Medici with us. We have the Sandbox with us, Sebastian Bourget. Hopefully we have a lot of great announcements that we'll be making. Something else to look forward to is also the launch of our own IP, Aquarium. It's going to be the first cross-chain, cross-platform game IP enabled by our own DApp. So you'll be hearing a
That's
lot more
cool.
about that Twitter and X in the days and weeks to come. It'll be an ordinals inscription. We are also going to be in October. You'll be hearing that quite a bit too. We'll be launching the world's first legal tender coin with NFT with the Kingdom of Bhutan. So we will hear an
Yeah, I
official
noticed you were a
announcement.
consultant to the Kingdom of Bhutan. That's cool. One
Yes,
of my
it's
books has a setting. They go to Bhutan for an event there. In one of my
nice.
fiction novels, at least.
Wow, I need
So
to
I did
find out
quite a
more
bit of
about you.
research on it, and I Google pictures and all that.
Yeah, but a ton of stuff in Bhutan. Bhutan is my third home, Singapore, Hawaii, and Bhutan. And so please listen out for that. There's going to be a huge forum in Bhutan, a Bhutan Innovation Forum, and we're very excited to be collaborating with the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Bhutan together with the Singapore Mint to create the first ever
Yeah,
commemorative.
they're active investments in that.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
very active.
very legal tender coin with NFT. So we're working on that as well.
That's awesome to hear.
Yeah, super exciting stuff. Non-stop working at Smobler, working around the clock to build worlds together, as you can see in my background.
Build worlds together. That's right, and visit their battleground. They just released
Yes,
that in the Sandbox map. Have
yes,
fun.
yes,
Cool.
exactly. Yes,
All
yes,
right,
yes.
so we'll transition now toward the outro for the future episodes. Right now, the only thing I have on the docket for Monday, I'm going to be interviewing one of the active SIP holders. It's going to be Hermit Crab Studios. So
Oh, yeah,
yeah, so I reached out
that's Matt.
to right, right. So I reached
Yeah.
out to him and said, "Hey, can we talk about the SIP?" Right now, it's not trending positively, so we want to turn that around in the voting. And one of the things that I know that I hear is, what are we really getting out of it, and why should we spend that money? So I'm really looking forward to that conversation on Monday with Hermit Crab to articulate how important this is to the community and why this is a worthy effort for the funds. And then after that, I'll be doing some rehashes with Pepe where we're going to showcase the magic palette because it's ready. So we're going
Wow,
to
exciting
I've never
stuff.
used it before, so I'm a complete amateur at it, but I'm going to create something with him in real time, and we're just going to see how it
Wow,
works. Know what I mean?
wow,
But I
amazing.
have so many other episodes. Oh my gosh, there's so many other. That's 28, and that's not even the interviews that I want to do with all the advisory boards. So, oh man,
Wow.
I tell you, they opened the floodgates when they brought that DAO on board. It's so fascinating. It's so enabling of all the different hopes, dreams, wants, and desires of people who have where be open campus, new campus, the Smobler, or a Sandbox Academy in the Philippines, which I think is
Yeah.
phenomenal idea, by the way. And so I want to have conversations with these people. We'll learn their background, what it is that fuels them, and what is they want to do with the SIFs that they propose. So I myself have some. I'll be interviewing myself sometimes. We'll see.
I should
But
interview you. You'd be such a great interviewee. You have such diverse experiences too.
oh,
Yeah.
you're too
If it
kind, and
happens,
I really appreciate
I'll,
having you.
I'll do a, well, let's do a special podcast where we turn the tables and it's going to be your show, but then I will interview you. That would be super exciting.
I think that would be fascinating. Yeah. So that's what's up and coming. We have a lot of episodes that there's so many people, so many stories I want to hear and learn, because as Loretta and I were mentioning today, the conversations need to be happening. And one of the biggest things that I see in this community right now in SandFam is that the conversations are not happening to the degree that I would hope they would. And in its absence, all of this, let's call it negativity. I don't want to call it that, but skepticism is growing out of the absence of the conversations that Loretta and I are having. And please reach out to Loretta. As you heard, not my words, she wants to hear and listen. And the advisory board too, to the extent that they can with their own availability. So, boy, I'm excited for this. This is
Yay.
awesome.
Thank you for your time, Shane. Like I said, I'm always very thankful. So thank you for taking time off your very busy schedule to do this. I truly appreciate, really.
Yeah, likewise. And something to advertise for you as well. Oh, this it broke itself. There we go. Update. So some Sandbox Spaces is a very very new episode slide, and for some reason it's not popping up. Give me a second. Let's do this and then do. Uh-oh.
All the
Oh,
perils of doing a live show.
I know.
Like I said, I've been in broadcast
There we
media
go.
all my life,
Got it.
and I'm just always fascinated that, folks
Yeah,
now have
Google Slides
all these
is
tools.
works really well. So
Yeah,
some
yeah, yeah.
Sandbox Spaces, so people like Loretta yourself, if you're listening from the advisory board or anyone else who wants to get connected, here's the place where people are currently organizing around. UGH, United Grand Halls, also known as Mocaverse Hall, Monday evening at 9 p.m. EST, 3 a.m. CST, unfortunately, and then 10 a.m. Korean Standard Time. About that. Bulls on the Block every Saturday morning. Coffee with Captains sometimes talk about Sandbox, although mostly they're ape chain stuff. Whale Members is the newest one I just got in touch with, which I'm trying to lock down a podcast with them. One of the largest landowners in Sandbox is the Whale family. So they have a podcast, not podcast, a Twitter space every Tuesday. They will talk about Sandbox if you show up to talk about it, like I did this past week with them on Tuesday. Just want to say hello from the Sandbox, and that one day we want to seek their consideration for quorum. And then SandFam Cafe has been going on 1 month, or once a month. They do a episode specific to the Sandbox, and sometimes it'll be like developers, sometimes it'll be studios and artists and all different stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up reaching out to you, Loretta, one time to be on the cafe. Maybe I'll send a tweet over at Pickaxe Master as a little hint, hint, nudge, nudge. But
Yeah, happy to. Like I said, I
yeah,
always love meeting people out there, and even better when you meet them in real life. It's like, you hear them, you know them, you have these virtual connections, and these virtual connections are sometimes so real. I've had this
yeah,
conversation with the podcast as well. Who's to say these virtual connections are not real? Like the friends and the connections you make in your GameFi and your virtual worlds and your Twitter, and they are so real. And then when you actually meet them in person, it's like, oh,
they certainly feel that way. Yeah.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
And then we come to, and then Discord. The Discord has conversation, but as you can tell, we're kind of spread out. So that's where in the gaps of these conversations, brews the unfortunate ambiguity that we're trying to clear up with conversations like these. So please reach out to me. Please reach out to Loretta. Don't We want to be a Sand Fam, and we want Sand Fam to succeed. So with that, Loretta, do you have anyone on Twitch that you want to raid? I normally raid someone to give them the viewership. I don't see anyone from Sandbox on right now. I do see some nonprofits on though. But is there anyone that
Ah.
comes to mind for you?
No, who's out there right now that we can raid?
Hmm. I'm looking at
Sandbox.
my people, and I see Stack Up, which is a veterans suicide awareness nonprofit. So they're one of my go-tos, and that's all I can see right now. If no one's jumping out at you, then I might hit them as the raid, and then we can call
Yeah.
it a day.
Yes, I leave that to you
Okay.
in your good hands. Yeah, you could be my raider.
All right. So we're start the raid. Loretta, thank you so much for your time. It was such a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you so much. This is one of the longest podcasts. Like I said, I thank you all for your time. I thank you for your effort and energy in organizing this and reaching out. And I really hope that more San Fam and community will continue to reach out as well. And I thoroughly enjoyed being on your show. And next time, I will love to interview you.
Well, I would be very grateful for that. Thank you. Have a great day, and go San Fam.
Go San Fam, much love Singapore. Happy birthday, Singapore.
Happy
Much
birthday,
birthday,
Thank you
much
Singapore.
so
birthday,
much.
Singapore.
Thank you.